Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today, welcome back, Mike Holt from Common Law Australia, and we've got Peter and Donna from the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper. Now, I've got my copy in the background there in every episode, but Mike, people know you, but I might let Peter and Donna give themselves a quick intro about how you got into this all and touch on the Corruption Whistleblower too, if you like, and then we'll get into what you guys have actually done recently serving the banks.
Well, this all started for me back in 2014 when I worked out the financial system was crooked. I was overseas mining iron ore, so I have a pretty significant mining background. And then as times proceeded, I was running court cases and actually took Mike up to see a gentleman named David Walters in Cairns. And we soon worked out that there's no law here. It's just putrid. So I started fighting in the court using David Walters' material. You look at it and you know it's true, but it doesn't work because the courts are so putrid.
And Brian Shaw stuff.
Yeah, and then I worked with Brian Shaw. I worked with Wayne Glue, with all of them, one after the other, because I was thinking, look, if this stuff doesn't work, then I'll try Wayne Glue, and then Wayne Glue stuff doesn't work, and then it may work for one person, but it doesn't work for everybody as a whole. Then I worked with Brian Shaw for a while, same thing, excellent, absolute mind-boggling material that he's got, but no, it don't work. None of it works. So we started what was called the Commonwealth Justice Assembly down in South Australia. So we started teaching common law, and at the very similar time that Mike was teaching common law. And
can I just jump in there for a second, Peter?
Yeah, sure.
Just to explain, the reason that it doesn't work is because we actually have two legal systems here, or two law systems. We have Admiralty law, which is what the government operates under, which is basically Roman law from the Vatican. And we have common law, which has been pushed aside and is no longer used in their system at all. So, when we go into court and we try to use common law, it just doesn't work.
That's right. But all the judges are Freemasons, as we know, and it's just one big, fat, nasty cult. Yeah. So we formed the common law court down in South Australia, and then unfortunately, and I was running public landfill operations, so I formed the common law court, which is where I met Donna, and then she came and she was truly one of the heroes of the group because she'd run all the assemblies, teaching the law and running through things every weekend, never missed a beat. And I was sort of behind the scenes running everything because I was funding everything. But then, however, the coppers came down, about 100 of them, because we would go to places and serve the commissioner of police with about 50 of us holding documents and waving them around. They're like, wow, what's this? Who's this group?
The councils, the cops.
The whole lot. We were doing the whole lot.
Christie's Beach.
We were causing a big disruption in the system down there. And they eventually came along, 100 of them, with their bomb squad, their military tanks and all that sort of stuff.
Guns all pointed at us.
and took me away. And I was a political prisoner for 2.5 years. So when I got out, I got together with Donna and I said, we've got to print a newspaper. And then, so she was sort of helping me a bit with that, but I'd met somebody in the meantime that said, oh yeah, I can do it. It was another lady. And so I go out and had all my possessions stolen. So I go out and I use my dole check to buy a computer to give to this lady so she can just have a sole computer to, start building the paper and stuff. And what she do, steals the computer. So then Donna sort of stuck her hand up and says, okay, I'll do it then. And so the Corruption Whistleblower basically started from there. And here we are at the 3rd edition, nearly ready to put out the 4th edition.
Yeah. Fantastic. And guys, I'll put the link below to get the Corruption Whistleblower, which is available in hard copy and online, I believe, guys. But let's get to what you've been up to recently, serving the big 4 banks. I know there's some things you can't talk about yet, but what can you tell us that led to this and where you're at and what it's all about?
I'll let you explain that, Donna.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll just go back to how we did start as well. They took my daughter as well, back when they threw him in jail and bankrupted Peter. We weren't together at the time. and they come and took Takara. And the first time he fended them off, that's called Before We Proceed. That's still online. And then the second time I represented myself in court and got it back after 36 days, working with Leith, Masters from WA, and a small team. So that's what kind of catapulted me into it all as well. So now we ran the paper, and I had to learn InDesign. We didn't know what we were doing. We just learned InDesign, and we got another friend who was a journo, and she's helped and did like this. And so we put out 3 papers. Then we ran grand juries after that. We've run 2 grand juries. We'd like to run another one in Melbourne eventually. And then we, as we keep going on, we find ourselves with this information in front of us, where we go and serve the 4 banksters on the 18th and 19th of November. And we served them documents that reflected that they had billions and trillions, like you saw in the video. If they want to see the video, that's on corruptionwhistleblower.com. Also with the downloadable forms and documents that we served them. So we were very pleased to get their reactions on camera. They're trained to take service. And as you'll see, they just take the documents and hand them straight off to their lawyers. So, we're digging into all of that. And so we went down and got the information. They're very hard to get hold of, the CEOs, extremely hard. We've spoken to other people who have tried to serve them documents, and they never get to them face to face. So we thank the Standing Committee on Economics, the parliamentarians, for allowing us to have public access to these CEOs. Who knows if they'll continue that in the future, because we sat through a lot of their feeble questioning, and they all got served as well. So the government knows, the banksters know, and there's other banks that are required to be served as well. So we just did our due diligence, and we served them the very incriminating documents that show account numbers and show what they should have released to the public after 30 years. Now, they got it in January 1967. It was supposed to be on a 30-year turnaround at 4% per annum, which, for example, ANZ got 1.1 trillion. After the 30 years, I think it bumps up to about 3 trillion. Well, they should have released 50% of that to the people. That was supposed to be the deal from the documents we were looking at. And then in another 30 years, they were supposed to release more. That's why I ended the video with, when we walked out after serving these banksters on day 2, what did we walk out into? 2,500 shoes of suicided men, who a lot of it is financial stress that eventually leads to the corrupt family court, and they can't handle it. That's too much. When they take their children, their job, their license, like everything, they strip them of nothing. A lot of people can't handle it. And I do credit Peter for being so strong. He was stripped like $60 million of his assets that he'd worked on, properties and everything like that, while he was captured and kidnapped in jail unlawfully. He actually won a court case to say that he was put in prison unlawfully, and they've taken over a year to set down the amount that he would be paid. So they still haven't had remedy, and they haven't provided remedy for him in any way, shape or form. So we press on, and it is out of necessity that these great ideas come to pass. So we really would love to be taking back the media for this nation, taking back the banking system in some way, shape or form, and definitely helping the people, distributed to the people. We love our First Nation people. We've been travelling around speaking to all the mobs, and they love the idea. We give them a fair share agreement, and they look at what we're doing and can see that it's going to benefit everyone. So a lot of them are signed on, and others have shown great interest to signing on.
Yeah, well, ultimately, we all need to unite. It's kind of a battle of good versus evil when you get down to it all, isn't it? But for those that aren't familiar with those loans you're talking about from the 60s to the big banks, can you give them like a bit of an idea of kind of what that was about and how it worked?
So basically, they were humanitarian funds, and like Donna said, each of the banks got different amounts. The Commonwealth Bank got 660 billion. The ANZ got 1.1 trillion. The Westpac got 1.1 trillion, and the NAB got around 700 billion. And at 4% over 30 years, those amounts basically 2.5 times themselves. So the program written into those deposits were to be they weren't a gift, but they were to recuperate interest, and then 50% of that after 30 years was to be returned to the people of Australia for humanitarian projects. But they've stolen it. And if you look at and I said in the interview, in the video, that if we gave everybody in the nation $500,000, that's 1.25 trillion. So if one bank was supposed to release 1.25 or 1.5 trillion back into the system and then lock the other 1.5 trillion up for another 30 years. But we're at the second phase now. We're only 3 years away from the 60-year term. So we're coming up for the second prosperity package for the nation to move things forward. So basically what that means is no home loan could have been collected since 1997, because a house was only probably worth 500,000 or 600,000, even in Sydney in 1997, because I clearly remember it. That's probably what their values were. So, and when we look at all the people that have committed suicide in the farming sector, heritage land handed to them through the generations, being forced to sell their farms and then commit suicide, that blood is on the Australian government's hands and on the bank's hands. Every single last one of them. And it's the same with those 2,500 shoes that are on that ground out the front. And so sadly, I was really struggling to hold the water back in my eyes when I came out of that Parliament House, because when we came across the shoes, it was devastating. But as we were walking along looking at the shoes, there were children's shoes there. And at first we thought, what have these fathers taken their children with them? But it wasn't. It was the children had donated their shoes for the fathers who had taken their lives to represent their fathers. And that was truly heartbreaking. And it's like the other gentleman said down there where we interviewed him, it's economic stresses where it starts. You're working too long, or you've been sacked, you're not keeping your job up, and we're losing the house. So the family unit's breaking up, and generally the women get the children, and the fathers are, completely stripped of everything they've got.
Yeah.
So it was just so all that blood on their hands, and that's yearly, 2,500. Donna said it's actually 3,500, but they had 2,500 shoes down there. That blood is on the bank's heads and on this current government's heads. And as Mike fully well knows, the Australian government is not the government of the Commonwealth of Australia, and we're just waiting for all the sleeple sheeple. Well, I actually call them sheep. They're one worse than a sheep, because they're following the sheep, and even the sheep up the front, he might know where he's going, but the one behind, he doesn't even know what's going on. He just, like I said, he's a sheep. So we just need to try and wake a few more of those people up, join the fight, and we'll be able to win this nation back.
Yeah, well, again, it comes back to the evils of the central banking system and putting people into debt. And as you say, I think I read the other day, Australia now leads the world in suicides under 40 or something like that. These are just crazy statistics. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we pay, some of the highest tax rates. And now they're doing more and more to go after the farmers, as you say, with inheritance taxes and land taxes and all this type of stuff. But just wrapping up, what's next for you guys? When are you expecting to hear back, and what are the next steps, and what can people do to support?
Well, we'll be proceeding in the next week or so. We can't elaborate too much on those moves or telecast those moves, but we will be writing them a letter of demand shortly to return the assets to the original holder. It's not ours. We've just been made the trustee of the asset to return it back. So then potentially can be returned to where it's supposed to go under contract for which they took it for, but they've decided to keep us and keep us all debt slaves. So that's basically the next move. We do have a number of lawyers looking into this at the moment, and I won't be mentioning their names because this is a dangerous operation. When you go after the government, they do nasty stuff for you, like bankrupt you and do all those sorts of things. But when you go after the money, they do what they did to Kennedy, and that's the same funds that Kennedy had hold of is what these funds are that were being attempted to give to the Australian people and every other nation in the world, which is on the Treasury certificate, which is in the evidence brief that we presented to the 4 bankers and all the standing committee there. So I think there were 9. Was there 9 or 10 of them?
It was 10 of them. Yeah.
So they've all got it. And so what we say is that you've now got the evidence. So if you're concealing it, which they have been so far, we haven't been contacted or anything, then you're knowingly taking part in the fraud and you're aiding and abetting the fraud, and they're jailable offences, and they're major indictable. So we're just hoping that they will be behind the scenes reading what's going on, and anybody who conceals it is really stupid, because they conceal it from their children, they conceal it from their grandchildren, and they conceal it from the prosperity of this nation. So if they think that they're going to get away with concealing it, it won't happen, because this stuff's starting to become really public around the world.
And like you said, Alex, and like Peter's saying, there might be some people asleep, but once they realise that they've embezzled this money, that's going to wake people up really quickly. They might have woken up a little bit from the injection that's been given out, and there's a lot of sickness around that. That's woken the people up a little bit. But when they realise that they have really been ripped off to this capacity, I don't think there's going to be just 2,500 shoes on the front lawn. I think there's going to be millions of people on the front lawn one day, and that's what I need everyone to see and envisage that, and envisage the true criminals getting arrested. That's where I need you to have that in your heart and in your mind, seeing that happen. We need to have hope for that.
Let's think also about the future, because once we get our hands on that money, we can have a fantastic life in this country. I mean, you only look at countries like Dubai and Kuwait. They pay their people not to work, to go out and enjoy life, have fun, and they're living the dream. We should be too. Australia is a very, very rich country. So Peter's done his research. I've done my research many years ago on the wealth of this country, and it is mind-boggling what we have. Why aren't we living well?
Yeah,
because crap government.
That's right. Where is the dividends to everything they're dragging out of the ground? It's taken on unjust terms, and that was a recent case that Unipinga won. So, yeah, that's for everyone.
Yeah, just that royalty. So, I did a little bit of homework on how much each Australian would have been paid, and that's every one of the mothers and fathers and people over 18. If we broke down the 150 billion and divided by that, if I got my calculations correct, it's not a big payout, but it's 6,000 to every man, woman, and sort of adolescent in this nation. 6,000. That's just on that one flogging of the 150 billion. That the rumor is that it got sold for 2 billion. But if we can get hold of this, when we get hold of this government, that's another thing that's being sold on unjust terms, and we'll be going after it. Sold to Japan.
Oh, the gas.
The gas.
Natural
That's
gas,
correct.
yeah.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. The gas. So. But, $6,000. I mean, even if we didn't get the $6,000, they should have, removed everybody's tax bill or done something for the nation. But, it's just all golden handshakes. And then the minister allegedly pisses off and goes and works for the company that he sold it to.
Oh, yeah. 23 years of natural gas given to Japan, and then we've got a shortage over here. It's just outrageous. They really are raping and pillaging to the point where we can't keep letting this go unchecked.
Yeah, they are. And as you say, there's been a lot of people try to do it. Gaddafi was another one who was giving citizens free healthcare and free education and resources back, and the banking cartel took care of him. But I think more people are waking up than ever to all this stuff, and it's an amazing time.
They can't take out 1 million. They can't take out 2 million. We've got millions of people behind us, and they can't do it from all over the nation and over the world, over the entire world now aware of this. When we released that video, people who we were talking with overseas said that has sent, what was it? A financial
shockwave through the financial system
worldwide.
It forced people to look at the document and say, hey, look, even in America we were given it, in Africa we were given it. Where is it? Why hasn't it been released? So if we haven't done anything major, we've definitely stirred the pot. And when you stir the pot, when it involves people's money, that's when the sleep will start to wake up. And I had a bit of a conversation with Mike the other day about your friend whose father wasn't looking at the constitutional stuff, but when he saw the money, now they start to look at the rest of it. Yeah. So let's just hope we can wake a few more people up.
Because we love the people here. We love our nation. And we're not going to go anywhere. We're not running away anywhere. We want to stay here and help our nation here, our continent, and our people. And that includes black, white, all the different colours, and we want to preserve what we've got here and let everyone benefit from it.
Yeah, we're what I call the whack-a-moles, right? So if the government, yeah, if the government does come after us, right, we're not the only ones. There's lots of us out there now. So they can maybe knock down 1 or 2, but 10 more whack-a-moles will pop up. So it's really end of the game for these people.
Absolutely. Well, that's probably a good place to wrap up. I'll put the links down below to follow Mike, Peter, and Donna's work, and we'll have to have you guys back on again in future to give us some updates on how it's all going.
Love to. Mwah.
Absolute gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mike. Thanks for all your
Mike.
work.
And thank you
man.
for your great audience, and thank you, Alex.
No worries, guys. Good luck and chat soon.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.